For AM October 20th, 2025, Federal Command Center, El Paso, Texas. GPS screens lit up with 250 red dots moving across 48 states. To the rest of America, these were Southwest Logistics trucks delivering fresh produce to Walmart, Costco, and Kroger. Pristine safety records. 15 years of on-time deliveries. The perfect American success story. But to the 400 federal agents waiting in darkness, they were ghost units. At exactly 0400 hours, the order was given. Execute Operation Highway Harvest. Across the nation, the trap snapped shut. Tactical teams and highway patrol interceptors swarmed the trucks simultaneously. When agents cracked open a trailer on Interstate 10, they saw what every inspector had seen for a decade. Crates of lettuce, boxes of tomatoes, fresh produce destined for your dinner table. But this time, they didn't stop at the vegetables. They brought heavy hydraulic tools, pry bars, density scanners. They targeted the floor of the trailer, beneath the refrigerated cargo space. Concealed by custom-engineered hydraulic voids that had fooled inspectors for 2 years, was the payload. Plastic-wrapped bundles, vacuum-sealed, color-coated. It wasn't insulation. It was 52 tons of pure crystal methamphetamine. If you want the full truth about how cartels infiltrated America's supply chain, hit like so this story reaches more people. This wasn't drug trafficking. This was industrial warfare disguised as logistics. The Sinaloa Cartel hadn't just infiltrated the supply chain. They had built their own trucking company from the ground up for 15 years. Southwest Logistics operated as a legitimate business. They had a corporate headquarters in Austin, Texas, glass walls, conference rooms, 500 drivers on payroll. They generated $300 million in annual revenue. But the investigation revealed a terrifying secret. The company was founded by the Sinaloa Cartel, owned by criminals, operated by traffickers who wore suits and ties instead of tactical vests. The genius of the operation was the split fleet system. Of their 250 trucks, 150 were legitimate. They hauled real produce, made real money, kept the company's safety rating perfect. But the other 100 trucks were priority units. These vehicles were modified in a secret garage accessible only to vetted mechanics. They were fitted with $50,000 hydraulic traps capable of hiding 100 kilograms of drugs per trip. For 2 years, 52 tons of poison rolled across American highways, literally beneath the food destined for your dinner table. But the most chilling part of this story isn't the drugs, it's the drivers. When agents pulled them over, they realized that many of the men behind the wheel had no idea what they were carrying. They were innocent mules, unwittingly driving for a cartel that viewed them as disposable camouflage. Comment exposed below if this level of deception shocks you. The unraveling of this billion-dollar empire began with a single traffic stop 6 months earlier. April 2025, Interstate 10 outside San Antonio, Texas. A Texas Highway Patrol officer pulled over a Southwest Logistics refrigerated truck for routine inspection. The driver was calm. His logbook was perfect. The cargo manifest listed 20 tons of tomatoes headed for the Midwest. Everything looked legal. To the naked eye, it was just another delivery. But the canine unit on scene didn't care about paperwork. The German Shepherd walked the perimeter of the trailer and sat down near the rear axle. A passive alert indicating the presence of narcotics. The officers were confused. They opened the trailer, moved the crates, checked the walls. They found nothing. No smell, no visible bags, no loose panels. But dogs don't lie. They deployed a density scanner, a handheld device used to measure the thickness of materials. The reading on the trailer floor was abnormal, too dense. The scanner indicated metal and organic material where there should have been only insulation. And when they used heavy tools to pry up the floorboards, they found the secret. Concealed in a custom-engineered void were 100 kilograms of meth. The driver was arrested immediately, interrogated for hours. But DEA agents watching through the glass realized something disturbing. He was genuinely terrified. He wasn't acting. He was an innocent pawn. This revelation changed the entire scope of the investigation. If this operation seems more sophisticated than you imagined, hit like now. Special Agent Maria Rodriguez of the D Strategic Intelligence Division realized that if the drivers didn't know, the concealment had to be structural. It meant the trucks were being built around the drugs. She ordered a deep dive into the company's finances. On paper, Southwest Logistics was a mid-sized carrier with legitimate income. But the math didn't add up. Legitimate trucking revenue was $30 million a year. Operating costs were $25 million. That leaves a net profit of $5 million. But the bank deposits show $300 million entering company accounts. Over 2 years, the money was being funneled through a maze of shell companies and offshore accounts, all tracing back to Sinaloa leadership. The cartel was essentially subsidizing the legitimate side of the business. To keep the trucks on the road as camouflage. To prove it, the DEA had to get inside. They launched a high-risk surveillance operation. They tracked all 250 company vehicles via GPS. A pattern emerged. 150 trucks drove normal routes, but 100 trucks, the priority units, made unexplained stops at a separate maintenance building at the company yard. An undercover agent applied for a job as a mechanic. He was hired. Has spent 3 months working inside the beast. He discovered that the maintenance building wasn't for repairs. It was a fabrication facility. He gained access using a stolen key card and found the smoking gun, blueprints for hydraulic lifts, false floors, custom compartments. He documented mechanics welding secret compartments into the frames of trailers. These weren't amateur modifications. Each trap cost $50,000 to install and was designed to defeat X-ray scanners. Type yes below if you're ready to see what happened. Next. The undercover agent also discovered the two-tier driver system. Most drivers were innocent, but the priority drivers, the ones who knew about the loads, were receiving $10,000 cash bonuses per trip. They used encrypted apps to coordinate with cartel handlers. The case was built. Federal prosecutors secured sealed indictments for 273 individuals under RICO statutes. They didn't want to stop one truck. They wanted to kill the company. Now, I have to pause and ask you a serious question. The executives of this trucking company were living in mansions, winning Chamber of Commerce awards, pretending to be pillars of the community while shipping tons of poison. Do you think white-collar criminals like this deserve life in prison? Or should they get lighter sentences than street dealers? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. On the morning of October 20th, 2025, while the trucks were being seized on the highways, a second team of FBI SWAT agents was breaching the front doors of the corporate headquarters in Austin. The building had glass walls, manicured lawns. It looked like a tech startup. But at 04:00 hours, the illusion shattered. FBI agents stormed the executive suites. The CEO was found at his desk, frantically trying to delete files from a secure server. He looked up, expecting to call his lawyer. Instead, he found himself staring down the barrel of a federal rifle. Step away from the computer. The agent screamed. The CEO of Southwest Logistics froze. The cursor on his screen hovered over the delete button, but it was too late. FBI cyber forensic agents pushed past the tactical team, securing the laptop before the encryption key could be wiped. In that split second, the facade of the perfect American company collapsed. I don't understand. The CEO stammered as he was pulled from his ergonomic chair and handcuffed. We're a legitimate logistics provider. We have contracts with the biggest retailers in the country. You're a money laundering front for the Sinaloa Cartel, the agent replied, slapping the cuffs on tight. And you're under arrest for conspiracy to traffic narcotics, wire fraud, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise. Share this so more people understand how deep cartel infiltration goes. Simultaneously, across the corporate campus, the CFO, the VP of operations, and the head of logistics were all taken into custody. These were men who drove luxury cars, lived in gated communities, sat on charity boards. They believed their white collars would protect them from the consequences of the black market. They were wrong. While the executives were being marched out of the glass-walled headquarters, another raid was happening at the company's maintenance depot. The dark heart of the Operation D tactical teams breached the priority garage. They caught the mechanics red-handed. Inside, sparks were flying. A team of welders was in the middle of modifying a trailer frame, actively installing a hydraulic lift system into a refrigeration unit. Federal agents dropped the torches now. The mechanics dropped their tools. They didn't even try to run. They knew exactly what they were building. They weren't repairing engines. They were engineering felonies. The garage was a gold mine of evidence. Agents found blueprints, fabrication schematics, invoices for specialized hydraulic pumps. Most damning of all, they found a work order list of the priority units, the 100 trucks that had been modified to carry the poison. By 6 a.m., the coordination of Operation Highway Harvest revealed its staggering scale. 273 arrests nationwide, 53 priority trucks seized on the highways, 47 more seized at the depot. A total of 52 tons of methamphetamine removed from circulation. The street value was calculated at over $1 billion, but as the dust settled, a tragic reality emerged regarding the workforce. Comment your reaction below if this story is affecting you. Nearly 500 drivers have been detained in the initial sweep. They were held in temporary processing centers. stripped of their commercial licenses, interrogated. As the interviews progressed, federal agents realized the heartbreaking truth. Approximately 150 of these drivers were completely innocent. They were legitimate truckers who had been hired to haul produce. They drove their assigned routes, delivered their loads, never knew that beneath their feet, millions of dollars in meth was hidden in the frame. These men and women stood on highway shoulders watching their trucks being towed away, realizing their careers were destroyed because their employer was a criminal organization. "I just delivered lettuce," one driver told investigators, tears streaming down his face. "I have a family. I didn't know." The federal government moved quickly to rectify this. In a rare move, the Department of Justice issued certificates of innocence to the cleared drivers, reinstating their licenses, even assisting them in finding new employment with vetted carriers. But for the priority drivers, the ones who took the $10,000 bonuses and used the encrypted phones, there was no mercy. They faced mandatory minimum sentences of 20 years. The legal aftermath of this operation has been historic. With the raid occurring in late October 2024, the trials for the executive leadership concluded just last month in December 2025. The defense attorneys for the CEO and CFO tried to argue plausible deniability. They claimed that rogue employees had infiltrated the company without executive knowledge, but prosecutor Jennifer Martinez destroyed that defense with a single piece of evidence: the shadow ledger. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this investigation. Seized from the CEO's laptop, this digital file tracked the company's real finances. It showed that while legitimate trucking operations brought in $30 million, the Special Projects Division, the drug smuggling, covered the massive $25 million operating costs. The executives didn't just know about the drugs. They budgeted for them. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. The verdict: guilty on all counts. The sentencing handed down just weeks ago set a new precedent for corporate criminal liability. The judge looked at the men in suits and delivered what legal experts are calling the corporate death penalty. The CEO, CFO, and crew were sentenced to life in federal prison without the possibility of parole. "You weaponize the American supply chain," the judge stated. "You use the trust of the American consumer as a shield for a cartel. That betrayal demands the maximum penalty." Southwest Logistics as a corporate entity was dissolved. Asset forfeiture teams seized everything: the 250 trucks, the corporate headquarters, the bank accounts totaling $100 million. Even the office furniture was auctioned off. The proceeds are now funding victim compensation programs and further border security operations. The economic damage to the Sinaloa Cartel is estimated at over $3 billion. They lost the drugs worth $2 billion, the assets worth $100 million, and the 15 years of time and effort it took to build a legitimate trucking front. If you believe justice matters, comment justice below. This operation has sent a shockwave through the retail industry. Major retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Kroger, who had unknowingly used Southwest Logistics for years, have immediately implemented enhanced carrier vetting protocols. They are now using third-party auditors to inspect the finances and fleets of their logistics partners, ensuring they are not accidentally funding a cartel front. Operation Highway Harvest proved that the war on drugs has evolved. It is no longer just about catching a guy with a backpack crossing the desert. It is about auditing the supply chain, scanning the infrastructure, realizing that the truck in the lane next to you might be a weapon of mass destruction. Disguised as a grocery delivery, the DEA and FBI have sent a clear message to the cartels. You can wear a suit. You can incorporate in Delaware. You can join the Chamber of Commerce. But if you move poison through our country, we will not just arrest you. We will bankrupt you, dissolve your company, bury your legacy. The highways are open again. The lettuce is being delivered. But the eyes of federal law enforcement are now watching the asphalt closer than ever before. If this story shocked you and you believe we need tighter security on our nation's supply chain, hit that like button and share this video. We need to wake people up to the reality of industrial scale trafficking. Comment below with your thoughts on how we can protect American infrastructure from cartel infiltration. Subscribe so you never miss the next investigation. Stay vigilant. The fight continues, and the next operation is already underway.